You've used your platform to talk about anti-Semitism, but social media can be totally brutal. Like, what have you found? What's gone on with putting all this stuff on social media and being so out there about it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like uh, anti-Jew hate online, there's sort of two forms of it, and this is sort of a general way to look at anti-Jew hate in general. There's the overt stuff, which I certainly have gotten. The Zionist scum, the K word, the like what size oven's gonna fit your head, like all of that kind of nonsense.
Hmm.
You get all that. That like comes with the territory. All the free Palestine flags all over a page. That's like me lighting a Shabbat candle. Like
Right.
has nothing to do with Israel or anything. So you get that, but then you get the more, which I think is much more harmful. That stuff doesn't really bother me. It's a shock when you first get it, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people get spooked by just that first moment, and then they like shut the door and they don't want to go back into that room. But for me, like once you open that door and walk in, it doesn't bother you at all. So like at this point, whatever I get, it really doesn't get in. In fact, I'm like at the point now where I'm like more analytical about like, okay, what is this saying about the people who are saying this? Like, what is it telling me about their understanding or sort of sociological patterns around the kind of people who behave and speak this way to strangers online?
Sure.
Anyway, the other insidious one is like the more invisible kind of anti-Jew hate, where you're putting up stuff online that is leaving out 98% of a context and just putting the 2% that really demonizes Jews or really demonizes Israel and spreading that around to people.
Mhm.
And it's so hard to fight because that 2% is true. It's like there's a 2% truth, but the other 98% of the truth is missing. So how do you you can't explain that to somebody in an Instagram post comment,
Right.
right? You have to really teach somebody how to see that. And it's really, I made a video, I think this was last fall. This is a good example of it. There was a group called Artists for a Ceasefire, a bunch of like Hollywood names and a lot of like the usual sort of anti-Jew haters were in there too, but also a lot of people who you were kind of surprised to see in there who was clear didn't really know what they were signing. And it was a letter that, if you didn't know any better, seemed completely decent and legitimate. That was like, we're against the war that's happening in Gaza, was like the gist of the letter. But then I was able to break down the letter and indicate what wasn't being said and the way things were being phrased that, pretty insidiously were painting a distorted picture of reality. Whatever side you're on, like what's real is what's real.
Mhm.
And this was being portrayed and painted in a way as if Israel woke up one day and said, let's go kill a bunch of random people, which not only did Israel not do, that's what Hamas did, but like we're painting it as if Israel had done that. So like that inversion, I talk about inversion on my show. It's something I break down, happens. You see that all the time, where not only is it not accurate about Jews or Israel, but it's actually accurate about their enemy who have flipped it and are now using it against Jews and Israel. So now not only do you have to like, whoa, no, we're not doing that, but you're doing that. It's like they catch you in this thing, and all you have to do is sort of drop, these word bombs like apartheid, genocide, whatever. Like I liken it to lighting a bag of dog shit on fire and leaving it on somebody's doorstep and then running away.
Right.
It's like, it's so easy to just drop that. And then now I have to spend an hour like teaching you context and what words mean and history and news story, blah, 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 just to explain away how this one idea that you got from this video is completely false and super harmful to every Jew on earth.
But I have a question. Do you feel like you're getting enough misinformation or enough people being argumentative with you on your social media or whatever, and talking about this small amount of a fact, and you want to address it so much that like you would have enough to put a segment on every podcast to be like, let's address this one misunderstanding from my post this week or whatever? And should you do it? Because maybe that is helpful.
Putting it on my podcast?
Well, no, like I'm just saying in general, like talking about it enough that like,
enough misunderstandings.
Yeah. Are there enough misunderstandings and enough that you want to clarify? Or do you think the way to handle it is to just let ignorant people say what they want to say and move on?
So there's two ways I respond to that. One is I do that. So like at the beginning of my show, each episode, I like break something down or some observation. And a lot of it is about trying to clear up some of these misunderstandings. Like I did one, like I mentioned about inversion. I like broke down how it works and gave a bunch of examples. And I talked like the biggest misunderstanding of all about Jews is that Jews are a group of rich white people who share a religion. Like that's the number one misunderstanding. People don't know that it's this tribe. They don't know that there are Jews all over the world who look completely different and are from different, racial features, and that we share so many more things than just religion. We share the oral tradition. We share culture. We share language. We share a homeland. We share ritual, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that number one, and of course, there's as many rich Jews as there are poor Jews in the world. Like that's a total made up thing. But like that misunderstanding is at the root of so much of how they're able to be demonized. Because if you just believe they're this rich white group of like Europeans who want to dominate stuff, it allows you to demonize them in a million ways. But the other thing I'll do is I don't try to reach really the big haters on the extremes. That's not who I'm trying to clarify things for. Those people are unbelievably difficult to speak to. They don't really want to speak. They want to yell. And as soon as you get into a conversation, it very quickly, it makes me think of like a house of cards or like a model home or something. Like it falls down instantly, and they don't like that. They can't support it because it's sort of unsupportable. They don't have the knowledge to actually get into a debate with you.
They're not coming into the conversation open to having their mind changed.
Absolutely not. And as soon as you start to try to even do that, like all that comes out is like insults and like what are like, I've had somebody like I said, this conversation's not going well, but I want to press on because I think it's worthwhile. And she was like, whoa, that's really rapey language. And it's like, come on, like, because I said, let's press on in the conversation, like defaulting to stuff like that to try to like not actually have the conversation. Who I try to reach are people who are open and curious and are like the majority of the people on earth who are sort of in the middle, who don't really know what they don't know how to feel about stuff and want information and want to get it right and are like well-meaning, intelligent people. And that's who I'm trying to reach. Even Jews themselves, like, of course, non-Jews, but also some Jews who aren't well-informed or only know their own community or only know so much. That's something that really struck me. On October 8th, I did like a big, like 2-hour live Q&A on Instagram where I was answering all kinds of questions. And so many of my questions were coming from the Jewish community of American Jews who didn't know enough, had sort of been like coasting on the golden age of tolerance that we'd been in the last couple decades and did not know enough to be able to talk about this stuff. So that's who I'm trying to reach. And I have found, like, I'm so grateful there are so many of those people who are so genuinely wanting to learn and to not have misunderstandings, who do want to understand how the world works.
Right. And that brings me to my next question. You've had some really powerful conversations with non-Jews about Jewish identity. What makes someone a good ally and what doesn't?
Great question again. So, being an ally, it's so easy. Like I mentioned, like sending a text, and when you know that there is Jewish trouble in the world to your Jewish friend, it means so much. Like any gesture of goodwill from a non-Jew to a Jew, like the Jews are so defensive right now because of like the way that we're under attack. And like we feel there's such a feeling of nobody's with us that like any gesture at all means so much. I cannot express that enough. Whether it's a phone call, a text, like I have like when non-Jewish people text me, it's Passover right now, happy Passover or whatever. Just that they're like thinking of me and are aware that it's Passover and like care about me enough to want to say that. It just means so much. So that's one, like, and that's the low bar. That's something anybody can do. Like putting the Jewish person in your life, like putting your relationship with them first, but beyond whatever political ideas or understandings you have or not, or the current events, just like taking care of people you care about. That's number one. And then number two really is like the same way we would hope that we all have a zero tolerance policy for anti-Black racism or anti-Latino racism. If you saw that happening in public, in your workplace, on your group chat, you would be like, whoa, guys, like we can't say that. That's racist. We need that for Jews. And the difficulty, as I mentioned before, is a lot of people don't even know how to identify it, right? Like they don't know what actually is anti-Jewish bigotry, because it shapeshifts and sort of can take on all these different forms. And so often today is about what's not being said, or about how Jews are being excluded from something that every other group would be included in, but just the Jews get treated differently. Hard to know how to look for unless you like have the right glasses on. So I do give people a bit of a pass there. There's just like a lack of knowledge about that. But once you do have that understanding and you can get it, it's out there for you to get if you want to consume, listen to people like me, read any number of publications. Once you understand even one facet of that, if you see something, say something. Like, we really need people to stand with us when something isn't right. If you are a college student, let's say, and you see a Jewish college student get spat on as he's walking across the quad, like, you got to say something. You can't be the silent bystander. Silence in this case is, it's complicity. It's enabling. So being a good ally is really just about seeing something and saying something and showing people that you care about them. It's really, those are like the two major pillars of it. And then if you want to go to another level, like, there are people at another level, like, Patricia Heaton started a whole organization about it. She's like an incredible leader, and she didn't have to do any of it. So that's why she's like absolutely beloved by the Jewish community, but she feels it's the right thing to do. So that's next level stuff. But everyday stuff, text your friend. And when somebody says something shitty online or in your workplace, say, hey, that's shitty. Don't say that.
Okay. You brought up something I want to talk about for 1 second. There's been a surge of anti-Semitism on college campuses lately.
Big time.
What do you think the older generations, Jewish and non-Jewish, are missing about what students are going through and trying to be a part of?
I really appreciate you asking that. I think the biggest thing that people are missing is there's much more to the story than what you see on the news, which is just like, this is a free speech issue. It's all about these encampments. It's about the protests, and like any college student who has a problem with the free speech, like, sorry, we can't help you. That's not what it's about. Like, the thing that the college kids, the Jewish kids, are upset about is getting spat on when they walk to class, like having their dorm doors vandalized, like having somebody waiting for them to harass them in the dining hall, having professors kick them out of class because they're Israeli, things of like this horrific, harassing, bigoted nature that are targeting Jewish students very specifically because they are Jewish, period. Whether you know their feelings on the war or Israel or not, if that person somehow identifies as a Jew, they're a target. They might be doxxed. They might be pilloried online. All of these nightmarish things that we wouldn't want any student of any ilk to have to experience, Jewish kids are experiencing on a very real level. I actually had coffee with two amazing UCLA Jewish students a little while ago. They're throwing a fundraiser. Like, they're such amazing leaders. And I was like, what's the vibe now? Because like, I know the encampments are kind of gone. Like, what's it like? And they were like, it's hostile. That was the word they used. They're like, in the classroom, it's hostile. Like, the only history class about this conflict is being taught by, an Arab teacher who says Jews have no tie to the Israeli homeland at all. And like, she's like, I felt unsafe in that class. I had to drop it. I left after the first day. And she's like, on campus, like, you feel like people are watching you, and you have a target on your back. And it's just, certain kids are built for that, like these two leaders, and they're becoming stronger because of it, and they're going to go really far in life because of this adversity and how they're overcoming it. And some kids are not built for that, and it's very traumatic and difficult to get through, and really sad. Right. And the fact that this is another one of those things on the human level. It's like that we can't all get on board with like harassing any specific group of students, barring them from attending class, chasing them, making them hide from like mobs. Like, we should all be on board that is absolutely unacceptable behavior, and it needs to stop 100% immediately.